Hello everyone, it's Sheila back again with another tutorial of another stitch what I show you how to do. This is a pattern. It's actually off a baby pattern. I'll show you the pattern on here, and it's this one, the green one here. And I started knitting this doing the little swatch, and I always use other needles. I always use 4mm needles when I use double knitting yarn. That's what this is, double knitting. It's Peyton's. It's Peyton's Fab double knitting, 100% acrylic. It's 100 grams, 274 meters, and they recommend 4mm needles or hook to use this yarn. But I started doing this pattern, and I thought the holes were a little bit bigger than what they should have been. And when I checked the pattern actually told you to use 3 3/4mm needles. So that's what I changed. I done the first 8 rows. There's 8 rows to the pattern. I done the first 8 rows with the 4mm needle, and then changed to the 3 3/4mm, and I can see that the little holes are a little bit smaller. So if I was using double knitting, I would recommend anybody to use 3 3/4 needles on this pattern. So I'm going to show how to do the pattern, and this is not one I've done very often. I'm going to have to check with my pattern instructions in case I forget what I'm doing. But it's an 8-row pattern, and it's quite simple. It starts off with purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, and that's all across the row. It's knit 2, purl 2, or purl 2, knit 2. It started off with purl. So I'll pause that till I get to the end of that. And the last knit 2, purl 2 on this row. That's the first row. And the second row is exactly the same, except you're reversing. Where you started with purl 2, you're starting with knit 2. I'll pause that again till I get to the end of the row. I'm almost at the end of the row. My last knit 2, purl 2, sorry, knit 2. And that's the first 2 rows of the pattern. And the third row of the pattern, which is where I'm going to have to check where I have to start from, is knit 1, knit 2 stitches together, yarn forward, slip 1 stitch, knit 1 stitch, and pass that slip stitch over. And if you'll notice, when you're doing the 2 stitches together, or the slip stitch, it's a purl and a knit, or a knit and a purl. So I'm going to knit 2 stitches together, yarn forward. I need some more wool out here. Should have done that at the start of the row. That's yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass that slip stitch over. So it's all the way across the row is knit 2 stitches, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass a slip stitch over, knit 2 together, yarn forward, slip 1 stitch, knit 1 stitch, pass a slip stitch over, knit 2 stitches together, yarn forward, slip 1 stitch, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over and knit your last stitch. That's the first row of the pattern of the lacy part. That's actually the third row of the pattern, and the fourth row is knit 1, purl 1, and into the next stitch that you made on the row before, you knit 1 and purl 1 into that same stitch. And then it's purl 2 stitches, and that stitch that was made from the row below, knit 1, purl 1 into that same stitch, and then purl 2 stitches, then knit 1, purl 1 into that same stitch again, purl 2, knit 1, oh, took it off, knit 1, purl 1 into that same stitch, purl 2, then knit 1 and purl 1 into that same stitch, and then purl your last 2 stitches. And that's the first row. The second row of the lacy part of the pattern, which is the fourth row. And then the next 2 rows we are going to repeat the second and the first row. You'll repeat the second row first. The second row starts with knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2 all the way across the row, and I'll pause that while I do that and get to the end. And the last knit 2 on that row. That's the 5th row. The 6th row is the same as the 5th row, only starting with purl 2 instead of knit 2. So that's purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, and I'll pause that till I get to the end again. And the last knit 2, purl 2, and more wool out. And that's the first 6 rows of the pattern. And now we're on to the 7th row. The 7th row, that'll make the holes again. And it's knit 1, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 2 stitches together, yarn forward, and if you'll notice where we are knitting stitches together or passing stitches over, the 2 stitches together are always a knit and a purl, or a purl and a knit. There's not 2 knit stitches together or 2 purl stitches together, it's one of each. So it's yarn forward, slip that stitch, knit the next stitch, pass the slip stitch over, knit 2 stitches together, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 2 stitches together, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 2 together, yarn forward, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, let's knit 2 stitches together and knit 1, and that's the 7th row, and I'll now do the 8th row. So it's knit 2, purl 2, and then into that stitch that you made in the row below, it's knit 1 and purl 1 into the same stitch, and then purl 2, and then knit 1, purl 1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 1 into the same stitch, purl 2, and knit 1, purl 1 into the same stitch, purl 2, and then knit 1 and purl 1 into the same stitch, and then knit 1. And that's the 8 rows of that pattern. A nice little baby pattern. My baby patterns are very old, you can tell by the price on the the pattern, 1 shilling, 5 new pence. So this one must have been printed after 1972 when the money changed. So if you like my video and would like to see more, thumbs up and subscribe.